Hello, Grapperinos, and welcome to another exciting episode of Probably Next Week on Smackdown. I'm Bryon, and I'm joined by possibly one of the bots that disliked Cody's win from last week, that video. Mike, say hi, Mike.
Beep boop bop. Beep
Yeah,
boop boop bop. Boop boop bop. I
you
don't
don't like.
know. That story was wild. Like, who is botting disliking a WWE video? Like, what
I don't
kind
know.
of gain are you getting from that? That just sounds like cope to me.
I think that person may be one of those that doesn't like WWE's booking as of late and wants to stick it up to them. So that's why he paid a bunch of
That's,
bots to.
that's a lot of people, right?
Yeah, I don't know, but
But it was funny.
yeah, it is
I
funny.
was watching. I was watching a Wrestling with Regret video this morning at the gym. Right, I
Oh,
had it on, and he made a comment about Road Dogg being the person who's currently ruining SmackDown. And I was like, oh, is this a recent video? And I look at it was like 4 years ago. And I'm like, oh, okay, he's been doing this for a while then.
he has.
Okay.
Yes, he has. He's gone now, so I don't know who's writing SmackDown as of late. But yes, Road Dogg is now gone, and yeah, we got that Cody win video being disliked. Surely SmackDown is undergoing a, let's just say, transition phase, whatever you want to call it. But anyway, wild week for SmackDown, that's for sure. But we are here to predict what happens next. All right, we are here to book the next episode of Friday Night SmackDown. And as always on this show, we do it according to these rules. And then after that, we will watch the next episode of Friday Night SmackDown as it airs, and then we will score our predictions and bookings based on these criteria. And after that, we will come back here on the next episode and tell you what we got and do it all over again. So, scores. I have 19 points. I got it from majority of the appearances. I think Randy Orton and Alexa, Kiana, Charlotte, Julia, Jacob, Carmelo. The gauntlet match didn't really have the teams announced, so that's why I had 19. So I predicted the Wyatt 6 and the MFT were gonna be on it. So that's why I have it here. Not on the gauntlet match specifically, but on some other match. But you know, this gauntlet match kind of, I guess, included the other teams too, besides the MFT and the Wyatt Six. So whatever, I guess we'll just put it as 1 point for each team as they appear on that match, and that includes the MFT because they were in there to disrupt the Wyatt Six. So had 19 points. What about you, Mike?
I cannot see the screen, so I'm assuming I had a couple of points. I think probably like
Wow.
uh, uh, 11? I was close. 12.5. I had 12.5 points.
12.5. Yeah.
Last week I got them mostly from the Wyatt Six appearing in the tag team championship match. I had the Jade Cargill and Rhea promo. But other than that, I did not get anything. I thought Drew was going to win the title on SmackDown, which didn't happen.
Nope.
And I thought that Kairi Sane and Alba Fire were going to have a match, and they did not. It ended up being Johnny Gargano jobbing out to Oba Femi again. So, yeah, Brian,
Yeah.
does this Cody Rhodes pivot feel like desperation because of the lack of perceived hype for this WrestleMania card?
I'm gonna say yes. I think this whole Cody kind of title change is really to sell the tickets, and not only that, but I do think that they are setting up two big matches for Mania, and I think that these two matches are going to sort of, how would you call it, kind of depend on each other. So I I'm getting a bit too ahead of myself because of my booking, but I will explain more. But I do think that the Cody pivot is to sell tickets because Cody is a big name. Everybody loves Cody, I guess, despite the internet at this point kind of cooling. I do think the casual fans still love Cody. He's kind of the new John Cena at this point, you know. The hardcore fans might not like Cody, but you know what? The casual fans, they like Cody, so there you go. That's what I think anyway, but again, getting a little too ahead of ourselves. But before we get to that booking, what is announced for the next episode? We got Jade Cargill taking on Michin. Reasons. We got Randy Orton versus Cody Rhodes contract signing. And of course, for no reason whatsoever, again, reasons, we got Jelly Roll on the show. As to what the hell he is going to do at WrestleMania, we may never know, but we'll try to predict anyway. So, without further ado, let's book this thing and head to my version of the show as Drew McIntyre walks to the ring, kind of despondent, mad, sad, all these emotions at the same time. He talks about the match with Cody last week and that he lost. He blames it on that darn Jacob Fatu and how he has to be everywhere and how his hate for Cody or him has to stay with him. And he blames him for basically losing the championship and giving it to Cody. He's the reason why Cody is the champion and Drew is not. He demands Jacob Fatu to get in the ring so he can kick his Samoan criminal ass and send him back to jail. He is attacked from behind by Jacob Fatu and the two brawl around the ring. Jacob grabs a mic after beating up Drew and says if he wants to beat that Samoan criminal ass, he's gonna have to do it at the grandest stage of them all, WrestleMania. I think that we are heading towards one of the matches that is set up for WrestleMania, which is Jacob Fatu versus Drew McIntyre. And I've heard reports that Drew McIntyre is going to be filming a movie after WrestleMania, so you kind of get an idea as to who's going to win that one. But I do think that the stipulation for Drew McIntyre versus Jacob Fatu is that whoever wins that match gets inserted into the Cody versus Randy match at night 2. I still think that stipulation is in play. I still think it would definitely benefit this entire situation. And I think that, well, I'm going to talk about who is going to win that one on the main event, which, okay, again, I'm getting ahead of myself, but I have the contract signing as the main event. I will talk about that when we get there. But I will say that I think the stipulation for Jacob Fatu versus Drew McIntyre is obviously to have that winner go on to face Randy Orton and Cody Rhodes for the championship at WrestleMania. So I'll talk about what happens there when we get to it. But for now, we'll move on to Jade Cargill taking on Michin because why not, I guess. I'm going to have Jade Cargill win by pinfall. And after the match, she grabs a mic. She talks about her match against Rhea Ripley at WrestleMania. She says that she will destroy Rhea because she is that B. And B-Fab walks to the ring to help Michin, but Jade pushes her and smiles. Yes, I am going to retread this once again. I'm going to have Jade Cargill take on B-Fab on the next episode, or the episode after this. So there you go. We have a setup for that after the match between Jade and Michin. So get hyped, I guess. Carmelo Hayes takes on Laredo Kid for the US Championship. So I looked at the SmackDown roster and I thought to myself, I don't think there's anyone on the SmackDown roster left to challenge Carmelo Hayes as of now. And I also looked at the fact that there was a AAA wrestler or superstar, however you want to call it. There was a AAA guy that challenged Carmelo Hayes last week. So why not double down and go with another AAA star taking on Carmelo Hayes for the US Championship? And I will have Laredo Kid challenge Carmelo here. And I will have Carmelo Hayes win by pinfall, obviously. After the match, Ilya Dragunov enters the ring and challenges Carmelo Hayes to a match for the US Championship at WrestleMania. Carmelo accepts. He sets out a hand for Ilya to shake. But Ilya is then attacked by The Miz from behind or out of nowhere. I don't know, The Miz probably hid behind the ring or something and ambushed Ilya. And The Miz shakes Carmelo's hand after beating up Ilya. So I think we are heading towards Ilya versus Carmelo at Mania. But I think for that to happen, we need to resolve the feud between The Miz and Ilya, with Ilya going over. And a match is made later tonight by Nick Aldis between Ilya and The Miz due to what happened after this match, which is Carmelo Hayes versus Laredo Kid. Jelly Roll is up next. Oh boy, oh boy. What are we going to do with Jelly Roll? Well, I don't know, but I will. Let's see if this happens anyway, what I have here. So, Jelly Roll talks about his journey in the WWE so far. It culminated in what is perhaps one of the best SummerSlam matches, which was the SummerSlam last year. The match between Randy Orton and Jelly Roll taking on Logan Paul and Drew McIntyre. Remember that match? Remember that match? That was a match. But anyway, he wishes Randy the best in his match against Cody at WrestleMania. And he also talks about what's next for him. He lost a ton of weight from last time you saw him in the ring. He put in a lot of hard work and dedication, and he really loves the sport of professional wrestling and WWE. So he wants to put up an open challenge to anyone who wishes to beat him in this ring, to try to beat him all they can, and basically, try to defeat Jelly Roll, I guess. And then we're gonna have Kit Wilson come out, and he says that Jelly Roll is toxic because his music is toxic, and the way he treats his body is toxic. He wants to drain all the toxic masculinity from Jelly Roll at WrestleMania, and by the end of it, Jelly Roll wishes he didn't step foot in the ring ever again. However, while he is speaking, I should say, we're gonna have Obafemi sneak up on Kit as he delivers this promo, and then attacks Kit when he is done. So again, we're gonna set up Obafemi versus Kit Wilson for the episode after this, and then Jelly Roll kind of claps at Kit Wilson being destroyed. He is then attacked from behind by Aleister Black, and I think that will be the match for Jelly Roll at WrestleMania. Aleister takes the mic. He says he will awaken the voices in Randy's head at WrestleMania, and he will also awaken the devils that Jelly Roll is running away from, and reveal them at the biggest stage of them all, so that Jelly Roll may never step foot in the ring ever again. I think Jelly Roll versus Aleister Black. You know what? Two tattooed up men who are white. You know what? Let's do it. I think I think that's a decent rivalry, and again, it gets Aleister Black on the Mania card, and I think it'll also serve as a follow up to Randy Orton's storyline. Randy Orton being affected by Aleister Black with that match that they had a couple weeks ago. So I think that's what will happen with Jelly Roll. But who knows? Charlotte Flair takes on Lash Legend next. This is to build up their feud eventually for the Women's Tag Team Championships, maybe at WrestleMania, maybe on the Go Home show. I will have Lash Legend win by pinfall because she is a champion, due to a miscommunication between Charlotte and Alexa. After the match, Nia Jax beats up Alexa while Lash Legend continues to beat up Charlotte. And Lash Legend and Nia Jax raise their titles at Charlotte and Alexa as they sort of lay there on the floor, as well as the audience, and they leave the ring. So I think we are heading, as I said, towards a Charlotte and Alexa versus the Irresistible Forces feud at Mania. And I think that a breakup angle between Charlotte and Alexa is definitely possible. and I will have the seeds of it planted on this miscommunication here. And then the weeks after that, we'll have segments and matches where they don't seem to be in the same page, and it'll all come to fruition at Mania when they try to challenge for the titles and they fail, and that's when you have that sort of breakup there. So I'm predicting that at Mania. The MFT are in the ring after that. I'm gonna have Solo talk about the tag team gauntlet match. He says that they cost the Wyatt Six their chance at challenging them for the titles, which is too bad. But now they find themselves a match against Damian Priest and R-Truth. Truly, the tag team division on SmackDown is miles better than Raw. Best tag team division in wrestling right now. He says that both of them are pushovers and contribute nothing to the tag team division. They will squash those two very easily. They're then interrupted by Damian Priest and R-Truth. R-Truth gets on the mic. He says that if they thought it would be the end of the Wyatt Hotel 6th branch, then they are wrong. They're going to make sure they get their belongings back, and Damian and R-Truth will make sure they get the titles. As soon as the MFT, Damian, and R-Truth get into a brawl, because Solo is offended, I guess, by the fact that the Wyatt Six are called the Wyatt Hotel 6th branch, the lights go off, and they go back on. With the Wyatt Six on the ring, they join the fight. One of the Wyatt Six gets the lantern and runs away with it while the chaos ensues, and that leaves the faces victorious. So I think this leads to an MFT versus Damian R-Truth kind of tag team championship match on the episode after this. And at WrestleMania, we will have Wyatt Six versus MFT for the title. And obviously, MFT will retain, duh. But I think this is going to head to Wyatt Six versus MFT, where the Wyatt Six get one over on the MFT, and finally ending this never-ending feud. So, there you go. Ilya takes on The Miz, and I will have Ilya win by pinfall, as I said earlier. And after the match, Ilya asks Carmelo to consider his challenge for the US Championship at WrestleMania and awaits his answer. And as I said earlier, I think Ilya Dragunov versus Carmelo is going to happen at Mania, where Ilya takes it back from Carmelo. He retains all the open challenge stuff, and Carmelo can move on to feuding potentially with Trick Williams, potentially moving up to the championship picture once something happens over there, once there's a shift. But yeah, I think that Ilya is going to take it back from Carmelo ultimately, and yeah, it's going to be kind of the same, except Ilya's having the title now. So there you go. Main event. It's time for Randy Orton versus Cody Rhodes contract signing for the WrestleMania match. So, Randy Orton is introduced first. He's brought to the ring. And then Cody Rhodes is introduced and brought to the ring as well. Nick Aldis is on there. Randy talks about their friendship and their long history together. He says that despite that, he won't hesitate having to RKO Cody and winning that number 15 that has eluded him his entire career. Cody answers by saying he appreciates the friendship and what he has done to help Cody's career. However, he will do whatever it takes to keep the title on his waist because he needs the title more than Randy does. Cody says good luck. He extends his hand for Randy to shake. Randy starts to shake his hand but turns it into an RKO. But Cody reverses it into a crossroads and plants Randy into the table. Cody is then attacked by Drew McIntyre, who is still upset by the loss, who is then attacked by Jacob Fatu, and Jacob stands tall as the show goes off the air. Again, as I said, I am leaning towards Jacob versus Drew, at WrestleMania Night 1. The stipulation is whoever wins goes to Randy versus Cody and makes that a triple threat. And I will have Jacob win that. And Jacob is inserted into Randy Orton versus Cody Rhodes. And I will have Randy Orton kind of win that match, because I think Cody is going to be a transitional champion, and he is going to kind of turn heel as a result of losing his title. And again, I think due to the backlash, despite the whole bots and you know the downs, the dislikes, I should say, on Cody winning that title back from Drew McIntyre, I still think that he's going to be transitional. I don't think this reign is going to be long. And again, as I said earlier, I think he's just there to push the ticket sales up for WrestleMania and kind of just give the title to someone new on the grand stage. So, sorry, Drew. But unfortunately, you are not going to have another title ever again at this point, or even get the WWE Championship at this point ever again, which is sad, but it is what it is, I guess. Any questions?
Um, I really like the Aleister Black idea. With Jelly Roll. I don't know if Jelly Roll is going to be doing a singles match. Maybe he will be, but I still think he's involved in tag action. Um, So we'll see. We'll see about that. I don't know. I don't think he'll be in a singles match. So what do you think happens with Trick Williams? I know they've been teasing him as being involved in the championship picture, but he lost Elimination Chamber. He didn't win the Rumble. So where do you think he goes, and how does he fit into WrestleMania? Because I don't think he gets inserted into the title picture at Mania. I think it's already pretty much set. For both brands. So I don't know what he's doing.
Yeah. These past few weeks, they kind of had Trick Williams being inserted into anything that Randy Orton has done. And I guess you could say that he might appear on this contract signing. But I think that's more of them keeping an eye on how over Trick Williams would be if he was inserted into the title situation. That was more of a test to see if he could sort of hang with the big boys, right? So when they eventually put him on that spot, there would be no disagreements regarding his spot on that card, right? So I think for Trick specifically, I think he's just going to languish a bit on the mid card. Potentially challenge for the US Championship once Ilya gets it back from Carmelo. I think Ilya and Trick have a bit more history than Carmelo and Trick. Or sorry, that's not right. They actually do have a history. I'm saying that I think that Trick Williams is going to, as I said, languish in the mid card. But I think for the US Championship, before he gets there, I think he has to resolve some rivalries. I think his rivalry with Carmelo is going to be one of them. But I don't think that a championship is actually kind of needed between both of them. I think this could be more of like a blood feud, or kind of like a friendship feud, but you wouldn't really know it unless you're deep into the NXT lore, right? So I think for that feud to happen, I think there would need to be a suitable kind of story for it to occur, which is why I'm not sort of gonna be a fan of Carmelo versus Trick just yet, because there's sort of no storyline progression with regards to that unless you are in tune with NXT back then when they were both in there. So I think Trick is probably going to be inserted into feuds with other mid card people. I don't know how deep the SmackDown roster is right now, but I think he could potentially go back to Sammy, I guess. He had a feud with Sammy, and I think that was unresolved. So potentially he could have a match against Sami Zayn. Um, what else? maybe Damian Priest, I guess. You know, they had a match at Saturday night's main event. I don't know. I think I think he'll just be there with a couple of mid card people. And then when the time is right, once we have that story between him and Carmelo, that's when we'll have that sort of story play out there. And then potentially he could be moved up to the US Championship by the end of the year. And next year he could be sort of put on there for the WWE Championship. I know it's a bit of a neutering thing, but they kind of do this with everyone. They just kind of hotshot some of them and then start to cool off on them for some reason. And I feel like that's going to happen with Trick Williams. Is just like we're gonna push you, I guess, and then nah, we don't feel that way anymore. So we're just gonna cool you down. We're just gonna put you in the mid card. So I guess that's the way it is now. Any other
Okay, yeah, that
questions?
makes
Yeah.
sense. That makes sense. Yeah, I just kind of thought they might have wanted to have, a guy that they've been building as like a big star, and is already super over in some significant fashion for WrestleMania. So, okay,
Yeah.
all right.
All right. Any other questions, or should we move on to your card?
No, I'm ready for my card. Yeah.
All right. Well, let's move on to your card then. Starting off with.
So we start off with Jelly Roll. Jelly Roll has a mini concert to start off the show. He finishes it off by singing Randy Orton to the ring. Randy Orton comes out for a promo to officially start the show. Jelly Roll comes down with him. But on the way to the ring, Randy is attacked by one Aleister Black. Aleister Black has been not gaslighting, but kind of provoking Randy for the past couple of weeks. Um, and I think that this is teasing. I think, when you mentioned Trick Williams being involved with Randy Orton, this is what makes me think that Randy's going to win at WrestleMania, because they're already kind of bringing up people that he can fight after WrestleMania. Like you have Aleister Black, you have Trick Williams, who've been involved with him. So I think that Aleister Black attacks here, and he is saved by Jelly Roll getting involved, where Aleister Black then runs away. I think that this is what happens on night one. I think that Drew teams up with Aleister Black to take on Randy and Jelly Roll. They're going to run this back again because it worked before. To get Drew a shot at the title. So what happens is it's going to be
Okay.
Randy versus Cody at night 2. Night 1 is if Drew wins, then he gets inserted into night 2. If not, then it's a one-on-one fight. So what about Jacob Fatu? I think Jacob Fatu maybe gets involved in the match in some capacity, but I think you want to save him for after WrestleMania. You do need people after WrestleMania to continue storylines. And I think they're going to hold off on Jacob Fatu until after WrestleMania.
Yeah. Actually, yeah. That's interesting for sure. And you're saying that Jelly Roll is going to be in a tag team match, or is he
With
just
Randy,
going to
yes.
with Randy? Okay.
With Randy, yes. With Randy.
Wow. Hmm.
Because they teamed up,
Yeah.
remember? They teamed up
Yeah,
in
they did.
SummerSlam.
Yes.
So
Yeah. I think that could also be another idea for sure. For sure. Yeah. Okay. That makes sense. I think I kind of like that idea. I wouldn't be surprised if they do go with that idea thinking about it. All right. Well, we'll see what happens, I guess. I guess. But we'll move on from that to
Jade Cargill versus Meechin. Meechin wants the smoke again, I guess. So I'm thinking that Jade wins this one via pinfall. I really don't know why they're doing this again. Maybe to just fulfill some contractual obligation on part of Jade Cargill. Um,
She needs one
Jade
5-minute match per week. That's why this is happening.
per month, man, per
per
month.
per month. All right.
Jade attempts a beatdown post match. She takes out Meechin's friend BFAB as well. And before she can Pillmanize Meechin, or Pillmanize her arm or something, Rhea comes down to the ring for the save. And there you go.
Okay. I might have asked this before, but do you think Jade is retaining at Mania?
Absolutely fucking not. No.
Okay.
No,
All
man.
right.
She is the female Goldberg, man. Really good when you hotshot her, but God, is she just not great with title, man? Like she needs to go down to the mid card, and I really think that she should have probably stuck in NXT for like about a year before she came up, because like she does need a lot of time in the lab per se. So
Yeah.
yeah, I think she goes down to the mid card, maybe U.S. title feud, and tries to hone her skills a little bit before she gets back here. So
Julia has the US title, right?
yeah, it's another one who needs. I mean, it's
Yeah.
not them, but it's the booking. I mean, Julia
Yes,
at
yes.
least has had good matches. It's just they haven't done anything with her.
No,
That's more
not at
booking
all.
issue. So
Yes, yeah. You have a 3-hour SmackDown, guys. Come on. Like, what is this? Well, anyway. Yeah, I could see Jade going up against Julia for sure. Honestly, I think Jade going for a US championship feud should have been better than her going against the going up against the WWE Women's Championship. But I think it's due to the fact that there isn't a lot of women on the SmackDown roster. That's kind of why we have that sort of situation, right? So I think I think that's why Jade is put into that position, and they've brought up Jordan Grace, for example, and Tiffany Stratton is back, and they're not really doing much. So like, I think now is the time where they can put the title on someone else besides Jade, and have Rhea sort of carry that women's division through a transitionary phase so that she can transition over to uh the title, I mean, to someone else like a Jordan or a Tiffany, right? To have that sort of title. And now you have more women call ups after WrestleMania to the SmackDown roster. And now you have a much more concrete women's division than one you have last time, which is just Michin and BFAB. So yeah, you know, yeah, I do think that it would be better if they sort of put it on Rhea instead of Jade, but who knows? Who knows at this point? Maybe they'll stick to the whole Goldberg shtick and have her retain that at Mania, but whatever. We'll move on from that to
Ilya Dragunov versus Kit Wilson. So last week in a backstage segment, Kit Wilson called Ilya Dragunov toxic. It was either him or The Miz. I don't know who it was. I'm pretty sure it was Ilya. So this is a result of that. I think Ilya wins via pinfall. Kit Wilson continues to be a jobber. And yeah, there you go.
is he the Golden Jobber though?
Uh,
I'm kidding. We'll decide at the end of the
so,
month, but as of
yeah.
now,
As of now, no. I mean, he's just a regular jobber. A golden jobber is someone who gets close to the title,
yeah,
but never
okay.
gets it, like an LA Knight.
Yeah. All right. Fair enough. Where do you think Ilya goes from here, I guess? Like,
I think he ends up at WrestleMania in a U.S. title fight with Carmelo and potentially another person.
whoa, you say potentially another person.
Yes.
Who do you think that person might be?
Um, we will find out in the next segment
Oh,
of this card. Yes.
Okay. I guess we'll move on to that now.
It is the U.S. Title Open Championship. Yes, we're doing this. Why? Because again, like I said before, we need Trick to do something because he doesn't have anything lined up for WrestleMania. So I think what happens here is another jobber comes out, whether it's some dude from AAA or some person from NXT or basically someone who's irrelevant, Apollo Crews maybe. Um, and he comes out and they are attacked, pushed aside by Trick Williams, who then hits his music and walks to the ring to take on Carmelo. They have been teasing this for a week or two. They've mentioned it on commentary a few times. Um, so, and during the Rumble as well. I think during the Rumble, or no, I think it was during Elimination Chamber qualifiers. They mentioned it. So
Okay.
anyway, they've been teasing it a few times. They've been teasing it a few times on commentary. So I think this ends up. I think Carmelo wins this one via a roll up. And I think this ends up in a three-way at WrestleMania between these two and Ilya.
Okay. Do you think Trick will get that US title at Mania? Considering they're kind of
I
hot-shotting him?
I don't know. I think Ilya might take it because he is super over as well. And I think maybe you go to like a Trick Williams versus Ilya Dragunov feud after that.
Okay. Actually, I think there's an idea that just sprouted in my mind. What do you think? Going back to Jelly Roll, what 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 do you think? Oh, actually, this won't apply to this segment, but you know what? I'll mention it anyway. So going back to the Jelly Roll thing, what do you think of a tag match, or you might have mentioned this already, between Jelly Roll, Randy Orton, right, as a tag team, taking on Jacob Fatu and Drew McIntyre. Do you think that could potentially be a match at Mania? I think you might have mentioned it already.
Yeah.
If so, then whatever.
See, the thing is with Jacob Fatu is that he's in a weird spot to where
Yeah,
it's obvious that there should be a triple threat, but he's not been put in the only time I think he got a chance at Elimination Chamber. He got two chances. One was the original EC qualifying match, which he lost thanks to Drew McIntyre.
right.
And then the other one where he lost to Logan Paul. So
Right.
I don't think that it would make logical sense for him to be in a team with Drew. And because they haven't really been like featuring him as an in-ring guy for the last couple of weeks, I don't think he's going to be involved in anything at WrestleMania. I think his idea is that he's who he has next, basically, for whoever
Okay.
is wins, whether it's Randy, whether it's Cody, whether it's Drew.
Okay. All right. Okay. I might as well bring it up here instead of, or I could have just brought it up at the main event, but I might as well bring it up now. But anyway, all right, that makes sense. We'll move on from that then to
MFT promo. So Solo comes out with his MFT. Is it his HFT, his family tree?
yeah. His
It was
MFT would
funny.
sound weird. His my family tree? What?
I
That kind of
was I
makes no
was
sense.
I was playing the because I bought 2K26, right? Because it was on sale on one of the sites I was looking at,
Yeah.
and it came with a bundle, so you got 2K25 with it as well. And I was playing the showcase mode, and they were going through like the history of the bloodline, and it was like it is now continued by Solo Sokoa. I was like, okay.
This really is
Sure.
the end. This really is the NWO to NWO 2000 pipeline. That's what's happening
This
right
isn't
now.
even the NWO 2000. This is like the NWO B team. Like when they had, the NWO Elite and then NWO Black and White. This is NWO Black and
Oh
White. This
yeah,
is the
yeah.
B team, bro. This is the B team. So, yeah, I think what happens here is they come out. They explain how they cost the Wyatt Six a chance at their titles, and now they have to face just R-Truth and Damian Priest. Really, they haven't really been tagging that long, and there's no way that they'll be able to beat his FT, his family tree.
Yeah.
He starts going over why they would never win, and then Nick Aldis comes out from the stage, and he's like, "Listen, Solo, you saw what I did to Drew 2 weeks ago at Elimination Chamber. All right, we can't be having can't be having the champions interfere on people's matches. So if you want to go ahead and mess around with other people's matches, then you're going to have to pay the price." And I think that he says, "All right, well, guess what? You're defending these titles, and you're defending them right now."
Whoa.
So
Right now.
yeah,
That's incredible. Okay.
yes.
All right. I guess we'll move on to that now. I didn't think this would be a championship match, but all right. We'll move on from that too.
Oh yeah, I forgot to put
Yeah.
championship match here. Damian Priest versus R-Truth. By the way, while I'm explaining this, Brian, try to come up with a name for this R-Truth Damian Priest pairing. Um, the MFT. I think that Damian and R-Truth win this one and win the titles. I think they're a transitionary champion for about like a week, maybe like a week or two. And they win because the Wyatt Six show up and manage to fight off the MFT, and they're able to pin and win the titles.
The Truth. I think the tag team name is The Truth.
Okay.
It's The Truth.
I've heard the truth. I've heard like truth and judgment.
Oh, that's good.
I've heard. I think I've heard like uh something with like not our priest, but like uh
The Archers of Truth.
the Arthurs of truth. Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, I have to I have to think about it for a little bit to come up with a good nickname for this team.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think they hold it for like a week or two. Wyatt Six take it back.
Yep.
MFT maybe take the lantern back again, or somehow they keep the lantern. And like you said, this is ending at WrestleMania with a tornado tag team match between all people in both factions. And we can finally go back to a regular tag team division instead of watching two mid-card teams fight it out every other week. So
Yeah, just fight it out without the title. This doesn't need a title. All right, just fight for the lantern. All right, leave the title for the real tag teams, not stupid factions like Wyatt Six and the MFT. All right, that's all I'm saying.
that
You guys
is what
can
I
fight.
think. That is what I think. That is what I think. You know, maybe the Wyatt Six take it back, but in reality, I think that they move the titles off of these teams because you saw what happens to tag. Like they're teasing a breakup of like the Motor City Machine Guns because this tag
What?
team division has been utterly fucking dog shit.
No
When it
way.
used to be really good, like last year when we had, you know, that ladder match between like Fraxium and DIY and Motor City Machine Guns and like Los Garza, and it was a great division. It was really hot, and then the MFTs came in, and it was just like, nope,
My
never
God.
mind, not anymore. So,
Yeah.
it's this is this is why fucking one half of DIY went to AEW. So I think they're gonna
That's
move it
true.
off of them. Maybe Motor City Machine Guns don't break up. Maybe they go for a unification match at Mania with the Usos. I don't know.
it would be
But
shocking.
I think what happens
for-
here is
yeah.
they move the titles off.
Okay. It would be shocking to break up Motor City Machine Guns, although I could think of a reason to break them up. Probably is so that one of them could team up with Johnny Gargano. I guess.
Maybe.
Like, maybe, but like that would be shocking, and it would happen for no reason if they decide to plan to break up the Motor City Machine Guns. It just doesn't make sense to me. But I don't know. Just take the title off of the MFT. All right, just take the title off of them. That's all we're saying. But whatever. Anyway, we'll move on to the main event now, which is
Cody Rhodes and Drew McIntyre contract signing. So they both get into the ring. They are both discussing their history with each other. Dating back to Evolution, dating back to the days where Cody was just getting started, and he was
the Legend Killer, all that good stuff. And then Drew, his music plays. Drew starts walking down to the ring, and he is absolutely fucking demolished by Jacob Fatu, who basically puts this guy off the stage into tables, and he is stretchered out. Jacob Fatu then comes into the ring, where he is then RKO'd through another table by Randy Orton. So I agree with you. I heard some news that Drew is going to be shooting a movie very soon, so I think they're going to write him off for a little bit, possibly.
wow. Okay.
Which is why I think he maybe has a match at Mania, depending on how long he's gone for, and he loses that match, and that's where he gets written off for a couple of months to go film a movie. So
Yeah.
there you go.
Yeah, I mean that's also another reason why you can kind of put him on this feud with Jelly Roll. I guess you don't really lose that much by going into a feud against Jelly Roll. I guess not only is that a follow up from the SummerSlam feud they had last year, but it also gives Drew something to do, and the consequences of him losing isn't really that, I guess, substantial because he's going away to film a movie anyway. So. Yeah. I mean, it kind of sucks still that Drew has to lose the title and may never get a chance to get back to that top place ever again. But potentially, he could be put into that Jelly Roll feud for now, I guess, until this whole thing subsides. I guess the whole question, Mike, is are you still sticking by the Cody Rhodes being heel shtick, or do you think there's still a possibility that Randy might give in to the voices in his head and turn heel from Aleister Black's advice?
So I think you could play it very interestingly here. I think what you could do is have Cody. See, the thing is that Cody having the title now is it's kind of hard to book him out of this like as someone who really wants the title, right? Because like what I would have said is like maybe you could have Cody come out and give like these, like the Rock in Austin in 2000, where it's like, I need to beat you, Rock. I need
Yeah.
like having him be super like desperate and determined to get the title, and that would be a justification for turning heel, like Austin
Yeah.
did on the Rock. But he has title. He has
Right.
it right now. So what do you need to do? Maybe you can still book him like that, but it's kind of weird because it's like, well, I mean, Cody, you already have title right now, so you don't need whatever. Maybe you can portray him as very like egotistical and pompous. Like, I am the QB1 of this company. I'm the face of this company. I worked my ass off. Yeah, maybe you could do that, but
Enough.
that would be. Enough. Have it be justification for him turning heel. I think because that way then you could paint it as like, who is going to do what they probably don't want to do to keep this title? Is Cody gonna gonna try to win dirty, or is Randy gonna finally give in to the voices in his head to take out Cody? What's gonna happen? So I still think that Randy is left as a face in this scenario. I think Cody still turns heel because you need someone to eventually take it off of Randy, which will be Cody later down the line.
Okay.
So, yeah.
Yeah. Um. Hmm. It is definitely an interesting situation, but I do think we are. I don't know if they could also do the double turn, or if it's even possible to do the double turn at Mania at this point. But man, yeah, it definitely is interesting to see how they would play out with Cody and Randy and the whole situation. Because honestly, I think with Randy winning, it kind of in my situation, he kind of or booking I should say, Randy kind of gives into the voices in his head. He does whatever he can to get that number 15, and he wins number 15 using everything that it's kind of like the John Cena thing, right? Where he tries to get number 17 and then he sells his soul to the Rock. Who cares about what happens after that? But, John Cena turning heel is to get that title, to get that number 17. And I feel like that's going to be the same thing as Randy Orton at this point. I think Randy Orton is going to get desperate, and he knows that he doesn't have a lot of time left in his career to chase that number 15. Now is the time to get the title. So I think Randy wins. He gets that title. He turns heel. I think more so than Cody. I think he has more of a reason to. But who knows? They could potentially swerve and give Cody the heel this time. But yeah, I think that since Cody, again, as I said, is kind of not that great right now with the fans, I think potentially he could, especially the internet, I guess, they could potentially just turn him heel or not listen to the internet. But we'll see. We'll see what happens there. But for now, that's what we got for the next episode of SmackDown as we head into WrestleMania. It's not the go home show. We have a few weeks left before that happens. But as I said earlier, we will watch the next episode of SmackDown as it airs, and we will score our predictions, and bookings, and we will come back here and give you our scores and do it all over again. So, until then, thank you for ordering a blue cheese pizza, called probably next week on SmackDown from Grapperinos. And remember, if you are down for some fresh, oven-baked, crispy wrestling content, stop on by Grapperinos and order yourself some content you can grapple with. See you next time, Grapperinos.